And if it goes about the recording, all of you who can't be here with us all of the time, no worries. The recording will be sent to you in 2 days. If you agreed to our marketing clauses. If not, please observe our channels. The recording will be also uploaded there next week. So if it goes about the agenda, firstly, Aneta Gałązka will be introducing you the open call. Then Frederick will be talking about the Climax project itself, and then there will be a Q&A session during which your questions will be welcomed. And I will be moderating this webinar, and I will be reading your questions and addressing them to the right person. So for now, I believe we can start. Please feel free to write all your questions on the chat, and then we will address them. Aneta, can you please start your presentation?
Let me know if you can see my screen.
We can.
Yes.
Okay, great. So welcome everyone. My name is Aneta Gałązka, and I will quickly let you know about our new project, Climax. This is the first open call for regions and communities. We launched the open call the 8th of December last year, and it will last until the 8th of March this year, 2024. So we have still 2 months to apply. So in general, I will just quickly tell you what is the Climax after my presentation. The project coordinator, Frederick, will tell you more about the technical part of the Climax project. So in general, the Climax is the project oriented to contribute to the European Commission climate change adaptation mission's first objective, which foresees general support to European regions and communities to help them better understand, prepare for, and manage climate risks by following the Union Civil Protection Mechanism, strategy for risk management planning, and support the design of climate adaptation strategies. Who are we looking for in the first open call? So in general, we are looking for the public bodies, including regional and local authorities, which have the mandate. Mandate means that you are authorized, you have the right to develop, implement climate-related multi-risk assessments and risk management plans in your region. So all of the regional, local authorities, public agencies, non-profit legal entities representing a local and regional community. Also, you need to be established in any of the EU member states and its overseas countries and territories, or Horizon Europe associated countries, and of course you are not affected by any EU restrictive measures. What kind of supports is to be offered in the Climax first open call? First of all, funding support. So we offer up to 300,000 euro lump sum funding per entity. The amount of lump sum differs from which country you are applying, taking into account the index, which is called CCC. Also, the second support is the multi-risk assessment toolbox. So you will get the access and support to use the toolbox, and this support will include methodological guidance and technical one. And event participation. So we give you the access to outreach and engagement events organized by Climax, intended to promote the shared learning and mutual exchange through the project community of practice. What kind of activities can be funded? So as I said before, first of all, proposals generating regional and local multi-risk climate assessment, following methodological principle of coherence, quantitative approaches, different climatic regions, and ensure spatial and temporal comparability. And this project will go into 3 phases. The first one will be common methodology applicable at regional, local scale in Europe. The second one is the refined regional, local HR analysis and risk assessment. And the last step is the better regional, local adaptation strategies and risk management plans. What are the basic eligibility criteria to apply to the first open call? The most important is to be on time and use our system. So it means that any applications which you would like to submit after the 8th of the March will not be possible to submit. The proposal needs to be written in English language. Only one proposal per applicant. You need to have the gender equality plan, no conflict of interest with our consortium, European dimension, and some other stuff like healthy finances and clean sheets are must, and of course acceptance of the open call rules. The support program will be, as I said before, divided into 3 stages. Per each stage, you will receive a certain amount of the total grant. The first one is 30%, the second one 40%, and the last one is 15%. The whole program will last 22 months, and you can receive up to 300,000 euro. What is important is that we pay you the fixed lump sum, so we don't need any accounting documents, but what we need is the deliverable submitted and accepted by our evaluators. The open call timeline. We launched the open call the 8th of December. Today we have our first webinar on how to apply. The 13th of February we will have the second webinar. So if you get to know the documents and you will come up with some questions, you are also invited to come here to ask questions to me or project coordinator. The open call deadline is the 8th of March 2024. Then we will have a few months for the evaluation process, and in June we will publish the list of beneficiaries. Now a few technical side, how to use our platform and how to apply. So you can see the website, and on the right side you can sign up to funding box. Without signing up you cannot open the application, so this is the first step to make. You sign up to the funding box portal. Then please read the documents, and inside the documents you can read the guide for applicants, the most important documents to read before applying. If you have any additional questions, most of them you can find in the frequently asked questions. You can check the PDF with the application form, so in general what you will need to prepare, and information about our webinars or the link to the YouTube video with the webinar, for example, from today. You can see the deadline here. So this is the 8th of March at 5 p.m. Brussels time. We really invite you to submit the application earlier, not to wait until the last moment. It's really risky. Everything can happen with computers or anything. So please try to be before the deadline. Okay, so when you read the documents, when you think that your public body, your organization is eligible to apply, then we invite you to go to the button Apply Now here, and then you will start the new application. What is inside? You can add a contributor, so if a few people will write the application from your organization, then here you can add a person to support you in writing. Then we ask you for some basic information, also the general information about the applicant, and then we have the criteria which are taken into account during the evaluation process. In the relevance, we ask you for the ambition of the project, dimension, community engagement in climate change adaptation, and European dimension. In the impact section, we ask you about the vulnerability to climate change impacts, limited resources, as well as expected impact of the project implementation. And in implementation, we ask you about your team, resources, and general implementation plan. In the resources, we ask you for the budget. in declaration of honor and processing of personal data. So in general, this is the GDPR clause. After that, you submit it, and then we can see your application in our system. If in the meantime you find out some questions, we invite you to go here to the help desk. This is our online portal, and in the help desk, you can go here. You can find some announcements, as well as you can online ask a question. Me and my colleague Paulina, we are there to answer your questions every day. You can go to the project website to get to know more about the general idea of the CLIMAAX, and you can visit our social media, LinkedIn, and so on. If you have any questions, you can also ask us directly. This is my email. If you have any questions, you can ask them now, but maybe we can listen to the project coordinator presentation and start the Q&A session after that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aneta. We have some questions, but as you said, we will wait for the Q&A session.
Okay, thank you. Well, as already introduced in quite some detail, I will be presenting the CLIMAX project, the Climate Risk and Vulnerability Assessment Framework and Toolbox, which we from Deltares side are leading. It's a 4-year lasting project. We've done the first year, and at this stage, we're at that stage that we can reach out and that we can make available our framework and tools. Well, the aim is to facilitate regional climate risk assessments, and we had quite some challenges and different data sets. We want to address different hazards. We want to be available for all types of regions all throughout Europe, and we want to rely on many local and European scale data sets. And as said, the project is part of the EU mission on adaptation, and this cascading fund is also coming from the EU. Well, to serve everybody, our motto is standardized flexibility, and I hope we can reach and be successful for all of you in that sense. Why do we need this? Well, we've seen that the global surface air temperature is rising, and actually the thick red line is our last year, 2023, which was actually really high temperatures. And also we experience a large range of different hazards, like lots of wildfires, we've seen flooding, we've seen droughts. So there's each year more that we need to address. And we want to enable you to do this assessment at your regional scale. Which hazards are most important and how will they change in the future climates? Well, the CLIMAX project exists of 3 pillars. We've developed a framework for climate risk assessments. We're finalizing a toolbox that can be used to conduct those climate risk assessments. And we're here today for the cascading funds to allow at least 50 regions, I must say 60 actually, to do their regional climate risk assessments. Now, the first step the first methodology that we make available is the climate risk assessment framework that helps you in the different steps you need to take to assess your present risks, to assess how climate change will affect them, and to identify your future risks. And this is all information that can, in the end, feed into your regional adaptation strategies. Well, some requirements for being able to do a regional climate risk assessment. Of course, the data should represent the local characteristics. We want to be able to identify your regional climate trends. And it's something we can't do for you because it really requires regional expertise, regional knowledge of which hazards are worst and what kind of impact you've experienced in the past. Well, the first step is the climate risk assessment framework, and you can see here a nice illustration of the full chain of going from identifying and scoping for the climate risks up to identifying your adaptation needs. And within that circle, you can see an outer circle, and that's actually the stage where Climax plays a role to explore which risks are most relevant, to select your hazards. We've made quite some European scale data sets available, which you can also use for your local assessments. But you will have to identify the relevant indicators and assess the risks. So to do these full assessments, lots of scripts and data have been made available through the toolbox, which I will be discussing later. Now, in the end, why are we doing this climate risk assessment? Because the EU wants to support regions in doing their climate risk management. And knowing the future risks will help you in identifying the most critical risks and thus providing adaptation needs. Oops. Then the toolbox. We aimed to support risk analysis at high spatial resolution. And to that end, the first set of the toolbox relies mainly on European and global scale data, but we're implementing functionality for you to also upload and integrate your local data. So you can either do some assessments online in the toolbox, or if you prefer and you're technically advanced user, you can also download the scripts and combine it with your local data and do the assessments on a much higher resolution. The toolbox is forward-looking, so we look into the future for future hazards, but also the socio-economic changes that are expressed in the exposure and vulnerability of the region. And it's a co-production, so we've developed it with all partners, but at the same time, we appreciate your feedback to improve the toolbox over the course of the project. The current hazards included, it's flooding, both coastal and riverine, wildfires, heat waves, heavy precipitation, droughts and snowstorms. And I say they're included, but some of them we're just finalizing at this moment, and they will be online in February, but they will definitely be online before the start of the project. So the toolbox helps you to explore the data, the different types of data, and to calculate the risks. We are connecting to the Copernicus data store, to the GRC Risk Data Hub, and to Climate Adapt from the EEA to ensure that we're not always reinventing the wheel, but we're also building upon good knowledge that already exists. At the bottom, you see the link, handbook.climax.eu. If you haven't visited yet, you can take a look. Well, on the right, there is a quite technical implementation of the windstorm risks over Europe. And this is what's one of those IPython notebooks implemented for specific hazards looks like, and where you can be editing and downloading the scripts or doing your analysis online. So other risk we're looking at is flood risks, and for those we can also calculate, because you will be using the toolbox, you can also calculate the flood damages for different return periods. Here you can see a map for Barcelona area. You'll have the possibility to upload your own data. I showed a damage map, but a damage map is most relevant when you have your local buildings and your local infrastructure in place. Well, this is, for example, a vegetation map of Selina, one of the pilots in our project. But it could also be a population map or information on the age of your population, which is more vulnerable towards, example, heat. So these type of additional data can be uploaded, or you can integrate it in your analysis when you download the scripts. Well, we're finalizing the heavy precipitation workflow, and here we really want to make sure that it's locally relevant. So you'll be able to zoom into your area of interest, and you'll be able to calculate heavy rainfall intensities for different return periods for the current and future climate. So the last steps we're currently taking is really to make it dedicated to the regional level. What can you expect? Yeah, you can expect, of course, next to the funding that you will receive to do the actual climate risk assessments, you will be granted access to the climate risk assessment framework. There will be some support in case there's misunderstanding or there's advice needed. And you will have access to the toolbox. There will be a simpler viewer soon, so you can look at the European and global scale data. You can zoom into the region, but the level of detail will not be that high. Then there are the online IPython notebooks. You can use those to calculate specific indicators. You can also download the notebooks and modify them to conduct your own climate risk assessment with local data. So if you looked at the phasing of the project, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 1 will mainly be relying on the global and European data that is currently in the toolbox. And then in the phase 2, you can either use the tools and scripts that are available to conduct your risk assessment with more local data, or you can in addition apply your existing tools yourself with the local data to improve the risk assessments. Now, from our side, there will be a help desk for technical support. So once your project has started, someone will be available to answer questions. In the end, you will be the one conducting the climate risk assessment, but in that sense, there is limited support available to help you. Then finally, of course, there is something we want to learn from the project. It's the EU is granting you the funding to conduct the climate risk assessments. And at the same time, we want to use the project to fine-tune the regional support service, which both the EU and we aim to keep in the air after project ending. So therefore, we'll also exploit the market potential, or at least define a strategy to keep the system aligned. And of course, we want to make sure that there is a mechanism for standardization, and we can connect to the European policies in future. Okay, that's it from my side. I hope the technical background is also a bit more clear, and it's more clear what will be available to you. And I give the word back to Funding Box.
Thank you very much for your presentation. We should start with questions. I believe that the first one is to Aneta. Does the gender equality plan has to be in place at the time of the proposal submission, or is it a precondition for the grant agreement in the case of successful application?
Yeah, so at the moment of applying, you just need to indicate that you have the gender equality plan, and that's enough for us.
Okay, thank you, Aneta. There was also the question about the slides. Yes, you will receive the slides with the recording of this webinar, but it will be available for those who, as I said before, gave consent to receive marketing communication. Another question is also for Aneta. Is it expected or recommended to associate a couple of municipalities, regions, or just one municipality is enough? Are there any expectations on cross-country collaboration?
So there are no additional points if you add the cross-country collaboration. So yeah, it is enough to add just one municipality.
Mm-hmm. And then another question to Aneta regarding the application form. There is this question: can your region community be considered as highly vulnerable to climate change impacts? Please provide evidence and/or examples. The question is, what kind of evidences the outcome of the project will actually generate evidences, or do I misunderstood that question?
Mm-hmm. So if you go to the documents, Guide for Applicants and Frequently Asked Questions, you can find the information about vulnerability index, and then you can check your country and see what is the index for the vulnerability.
This question is kind of connected to the previous one, also coming from Hakan Duman, about the index for Turkey. And I answered you, Hakan, with the index that Robert Blasco gave to you. But of course, please check it in the formal documents. And another question is, if you can, Aneta, please describe the region. What is the scale of the thing that we understand as region?
Yeah, so in general, what we are looking for is public bodies, and inside you can find the wording region. However, what is important for us from the formal perspective is the public body. I don't know, Frederick, if you want to add anything about the region.
Yeah, it can indeed be really small. So it can be even a small village, as long as it's established as a legal public body. It can also be a large city like Amsterdam. It can be a province. So any scale is possible.
Thank you very much. And I guess the next question is for you, Frederick, but I'm not sure. The question is, what room is there for synergic non-digital solutions in CLIMAAX program?
Maybe that question needs some further explanation, but you mean non-technical? And I think that's fine, because we're offering the toolbox, but we're also offering the climate risk assessment framework. And those steps in the framework can be followed with limited technical steps, although I think you will in the end have to do some quantification of your climate risks. But if the skills are really lacking, there is no need to really be using all the IPython scripts that are available. You can use the viewer, you can use your local data, that's possible.
Thank you. And Aneta, is the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry eligible to apply?
Yes, it's eligible.
And we have greetings from Romania, and there is a question about documents. What document can it be mandate for their part? It should be a decision made by us or a written right given for us by a higher institution.
So regarding the mandate, you can also find more information in Guide for Applicants, but in general, it can be some bill, regulation, service charter, decree, some status. It can be something which is available publicly, or you can attach it to the application.
Thank you. And another question about eligibility, NGOs that work at the national level in the conservation field, including climate. Is it eligible to apply for the open call?
Yes, they are eligible.
At the application, we focus only on one hazard, for example, flooding, droughts, or we can address more than one hazard.
Yeah, ideally you address more hazards. And of course you focus on the one to which your region is most susceptible.
There is this question regarding the very specific section. I will read it to you, Aneta, but I don't know if you have to check it. Section 7.3.5. Extra points are awarded for low adaptive capacity based on the regional composed vulnerability index. However, countries like Albania and others do not have a specific rating in this index. In addition, the application form requires information on this index. Given this scenario, how should applicants from countries without a vulnerability index rating proceed with filling out this part of the form? Are there any alternative metrics or methods in place to assess and compensate for the lack of this index, ensuring a fair evaluation process for all applicants, regardless of their country's specific data availability?
Yes, so that's true that not all of the countries, they are in this vulnerability index. You can also look for some national website and find them. If not, it will be probably assessed individually. Frederick, do you want to add something to this index?
Yeah, I was indeed evaluating that because we received an email about the topic as well, but there is no clear data set available. So indeed, I follow your lines here, Agneta.
Thank you. Another question regarding applying. If the applying entity doesn't have capacities in terms of experts, for example, Python coding, will there be a support for that too?
Yeah, that support is limited because it's a help desk for the toolbox that is available to all 60 applicants in the end. So with small questions, we can help, but there will be no one that is really doing the Python coding for you. But what I recommend is you can submit together, or you can identify budget within your total budget for a local technical expert, so either university or consultancy or independent experts. Include them in your proposal so they can help you.
Yeah, this is called in the budget subcontracting, so you can subcontract experts to provide the proper application.
Thank you. Aneta, in section 5, how to apply ground rules, it is stated that public bodies, higher education institutions, and research organizations from EU countries and associated countries are required to have a gender equality plan to become beneficiaries of the project. As a non-profit organization, we are interested to understand if this requirement also extends to our type of entity. Could you please clarify whether non-profit organizations are also required to have this plan in the place to be eligible for CLIMAAX?
Yeah, that is true that this is only for public bodies, higher education institutions, and research organizations. So if you are a non-profit organization, the gender equity plan is not required.
Another question. We would like to make a query regarding the budget for the project and in particular the travel costs. How many face-to-face meetings the other consortium cities are planned?
Yeah,
very limited. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. I wanted to tell that we already received such questions about the face-to-face meetings. So yeah, it is not a requirement, but please go ahead, Frederic.
Yeah, face-to-face meetings are indeed not required. So interaction between the projects will be online.
Thank you. During the project, we will have access to Jupyter. What will be after the project?
Yeah, it will be in the air. We leave the system, but there will be no help desk.
Thank you. How does a project consortium look like? Is there a minimum of and maximum of participants expected, international, national, or only regional partners?
So we don't look for consortia, but single entities, but entity can be the organization which include a few organizations. So it's quite complex here. Yeah, however, this is mostly regional and national participants, but this is we were looking for a single entity, so only one organization, only one institution.
And
there is the addition that one can subcontract someone, but then it's still not a consortium. Yeah, sorry.
But if you apply as the one organization, and inside the application you can subcontract some other organizations.
Can NGO apply to CLIMAAX as main applicant of the project, while Association of Cities of Sustainable Development, it is official public body in probably Slovakia, would be the final beneficiaries of the project? If yes, what kind of memorandum or contract of the cooperation should be attached to the application? There is no specification in Guide for Applicants, and who must declare a GEP in the described case?
So first of all, if you subcontract somebody, you will sign the contract within your organization. So we don't take into account these documents. This is your internal contract, your internal agreement. And who declare a gender equality plan? The organization who is applying.
If a regional authority apply, can a city within the region apply too?
Yes, yes.
And what are the responsibilities of each organization if they get selected?
Yeah, so you need to go to the documents, then you can see all of the phases per project. So we have 3 phases, in total 22 months of the project, and inside the documents you can see the in detail what each phase is about.
Aneta, there are some questions about this vulnerability index of NUTS-free region for different countries. Can you please explain where we can find this index for each country?
Yes, so this is in our documents. I don't know, maybe in the meantime, Paulina, you can check the
I will share the link.
and we will share the link here in the chat.
Thank you very much. Another question that starts with back to the scale. Bańska Bystrica self-governing region is an autonomous territorial self-governing unit of the Slovak Republic. It covers more than 500 municipalities. Is this scale too much regarding the length of the project and financing? I am not sure if I got it from the previous answer.
No, it is not too much.
Another question, are there any limitations in the subcontracting amount to technical experts or universities? Is there any specific subcontracting type, for example, direct program agreement?
Yeah, so we don't have any limitations in the subcontracting. And regarding the question about the subcontracting type, direct program agreement. So I'm not sure if I understand the question correctly. Do you mean that if we provide you the contract? So if this is the question, no, the contract is between you and the subcontractor.
Another question about gender equality plan for regions. Is it necessary to have an already defined gender equality plan?
It depends what the region, because region is a very broad name and we need to know more about the region. What kind of organization is that?
So maybe if you, Nazarena, give
You
us...
you can send us email, ask us via help desk, so then we can provide you more detailed answer.
No more questions right now. In the meantime, I just would like to...
I see that there is some more regional council, for instance, local. Yeah, so for local public body, this is required.
Thank you, Aneta, for noticing that. And also I would like to mention that Paulina sent you the link where you can check the vulnerability index. So please save the link. I will also send it in our marketing materials after this webinar. No more questions right now. We will wait a little bit, maybe 2 minutes more.
I can see one hand is raised.
Yeah, it's raised from the very beginning, but let's check. Shanti, would you like to ask question? Hello.
In the meantime, I can see the question in the chat that what if gender equality plan does not exist in English? So then we need the original plus some translation, but translation can be done by you. Can NGO that works in the national level in the field of conservation and doesn't specifically represent specific communities can be the lead of such projects? Yes, it can be.
And maybe the one above is for me. So the overseas countries and territories, yes, they're definitely allowed to apply. The fact is that indeed most of the maps we're currently using are only for the European mainland. So there will be directions to global data sets which can be used for the risk analysis. And I think in addition, you will have the freedom to apply whatever additional data sets you would like to.
Aneta, maybe you can write your email or send the link to help desk on chat. So if any other question appear, you can contact Aneta. You can write your question on our help desk. And there will be one more informative webinar about the open call. So please follow Climax and Funding Box channels to be at the top of every information that comes about Climax. I guess this is it. Thank you very much for your presentations, and also thank all of you, our registrants, for participating in this event. I wish you luck in your applications, and please, as Aneta already mentioned, do not wait till the last days, because anything and everything can actually happen, and applications submitted after the 8th of March will not be accepted. Thank you very much. I'm stopping the recording of this webinar, and you will receive links from me.